you know, because and we don't know what Angela Merkel is saying to Barack Obama right now. We'll never know that. It's impossible, and it's impossible for us to know. But I see that there is a very delicate balance right now, and war hangs in that balance. A serious war, because this could be a regional conflagration. This is the thing that can radicalize the entire Arab world, and the kind of disorder and violence that we're seeing on a low level in every Arab country right now can turn into a friggin' bonfire with a moment's notice. And all it's going to take is Israel attacking an Arab country, and that's not going to be good. And insofar as there's very serious people that must be working behind the scenes right now to prevent this, right? And Barack Obama may be on the right side of this issue for once, then thankfully that those people are so far holding off this war, because there's a lot of people that want it. And apparently our Prime Minister and Peter Mansbridge want this war.
It's wanted enough that even a person like you mentioned, Barack Obama, who who ran on a campaign of change and all the rest, and then pretty much gave America Bush 2.0, or maybe Bush 3.0, I guess, because Bush 2 was 2.0. But the long story short, even a person who it appears is trying to hold back on this still has to beat that drum. And Barack Obama himself will still say that all the options are on the table. In the meanwhile, while he's chomping on that bit to kind of hold back. So I mean, it goes to show just how far people are driven. Even people who you can analyze and say, oh, maybe Barack Obama is trying to limit the just this intense desire to go to war with Iran. Even he is confined and has to say the right things, which are that Iran needs to be held back, and so it just goes to show how far we're down this road.
You know what else it goes to show? It goes to show the extreme jingoistic nature and bloodthirsty nature of the American electorate. Because Barack Obama, you'd think he would have got his commander-in-chief credentials all in line before this next election by supposedly knocking off Osama bin Laden, carrying on the war in Afghanistan, escalating the drone war in Pakistan, bombing the hell out of Libya, initiating a drone war in Yemen, right? Coming down on the wrong side of the people in every single Muslim nation that's had an uprising so far. You know what I mean? You'd think he'd have his commander-in-chief and tough on terrorism credentials in line, but he's still vulnerable in this upcoming election because the Republicans are saying he's soft on Iran. He's going to let Iran get nukes, And,
yeah, exactly.
And one thing we never really covered is the fact that our Prime Minister, for some reason, knows that Iran will use nukes, and he bases it on religious fundamentalism.
Yeah, that's a little curious, isn't it? Isn't the pot calling the kettle black?
I kind of thought so, and I think it bears mentioning that Stephen Harper is a religious fundamentalist.
Just because he's a Christian religious fundamentalist, and psychologically that should be more palatable to a person from North America, doesn't mean that he's correct about religious fundamentalists in Islamic Iran being bloodthirsty and just the first thing I thought was like, how ridiculous is this? This is stupid. Get the guy a soapbox, put him out on a corner somewhere so we can put it back into a frame where we see how crazy he is, rather than him coming out as our Prime Minister and saying this. No one would listen to him if that were the case. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. No, it's insane. And when it comes to religious fundamentalism, it's everywhere these days. The more fear-driven our societies become, the more religious fundamentalism takes hold of our societies. For example, Israel is not immune to it either. There's Christian fundamentalism here in Canada because we elected a Christian fundamentalist. There's Muslim fundamentalism in Iran. There's no one denying that, and it's a negative thing. That's too bad.
Exactly. It's not to say that that's right.
Do you know how draconian Orthodox Jews are in Israel? Do you know that women have to ride the back of the bus in many parts of Israel, and they cannot go out in public with any part of their body showing? You know what I mean? They're not allowed to sing, and they're not allowed to have their picture taken. And this is Orthodox Jewry at work. You know? So talk about religious fundamentalism. Talk about the rights, like civil rights. Talk about that kind of stuff. And Israel is not innocent in this case. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
Yeah. So there's parts of Israel where women are completely equal and live to European and North American standards, but there's parts of Israel where they may as well be in Afghanistan. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the same
and that'll
can be
never
said
ever
of
really be shown in any mainstream media,
exactly,
just because
exactly.
Today that might even be considered an anti-Semitic stance, because any criticism of Israel, internal or foreign policy, is often lumped in with anti-Semitism, wrongfully, I believe.
Absolutely. So our Prime Minister to get on national TV with a very complacent and malleable news anchor to do the equivalent of a journalistic hand job live on air, I just hope the Canadian people were listening to that and taking that with a grain of salt, because as far as I'm concerned, Peter Mansbridge has absolutely impugned his integrity and assisted the warmongers in going to war, which isn't surprising given the fact that Peter Mansbridge has some questionable ties, and I mean,
I'm glad you brought that up. I was wondering when we were going to get to that.
Yeah, we got to mention it.
Yeah, Peter Mansbridge was a participant in I forget what year it was. I can't remember if it was 2008 or 2010. Participant in the Bilderberg group meeting.
Yeah.
That ever so clandestine group of elites, I mean, for lack of a better word, whether they're in government, business, journalism, and they meet behind closed doors. And, I jokingly said on Peter Mansbridge's Facebook page, "Hey, Peter, I think I know what they say behind closed doors in Bilderberger meetings now."
Yeah. See, now, for those that don't know, and those that don't pay attention to the so-called conspiracies theorists, like for example Alex Jones, etc., Bilderberg is a once-a-year meeting that they have, and people like Henry Kissinger, Bill Gates, the CEO of banks like Jamie Dimon, people like that run the Carlyle Group, Hillary Clinton goes there, George Bush Sr. goes there, and for some reason in 2008, you got that right, it was Peter Mansbridge was invited. And Peter Mansbridge doesn't run a bank. Peter Mansbridge doesn't control the military of an important country. Peter Mansbridge isn't Bill Gates. Peter Mansbridge was invited to Bilderberg by virtue of the fact that he gets to go on Canadian national television every night in a trusted position and do stuff like he did last week with Stephen Harper. So he gets to go to Bilderberg. He's a journalist. His stature is paid for and created by Canadian tax dollars. And being a journalist, you'd think that it would be incumbent upon him to say what he learned there.
That's kind of the problem too, isn't it? I mean, okay, privacy is one thing, like you can say privacy for a private meeting of private individuals, fine. But here's a journalist going to a meeting that discusses public policy on a global level, things that they want to see happen in the world, but they agree not to disclose any of the discussion.
Right.
What's a journalist doing there?
He's getting his marching orders. This is what you have to kind of wonder about. Now, of course, let's not be so, out to lunch in left field Looney Tunes like Alex Jones and say that you know what's going on behind closed doors. The conspiracy nuts will tell you that's where they plan the new world order, okay? And that that Peter Mansbridge would be getting his marching orders there, we don't know that. But the point of the matter is that I'd like to focus on is we don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
So that says just as equally, though, that the people who say that they do know that that's not what's going on are just as insane as somebody like Alex Jones, who says he knows what's going on.
Exactly.
You know, I was being flippant and joking on Peter Mansbridge's page, at the same time, you know, calling the guy out on saying the things he said, because, you know, it just seemed reasonable.
Yeah. See, now, I think the Canadian public is owed an explanation. Because he's paid with tax dollars, and because the position he has, the position of trust he has, is not, he did not develop that his own. He occupies that position. It's not his position. Bilderberg did not invite Peter Mansbridge, the bald dude. They invited Peter Mansbridge, the guy that is the main anchor on CBC's The National. You know what I mean? So it's the Canadian people that own his stature, that developed it and paid for it. And as a journalist and as a public servant, because he is paid by taxpayers' dollars, we deserve to know how he is using his position of power, right? And so I think we just, I mean, people can draw their own conclusions, but we went through that interview there, at least the Iran part of it, and you know, which
was the most important part, because that's the portion that was the softest of all of the issues. You know, I won't even criticize on that same level that we just did concerning Iran. Some other portions of the interview, there were not difficult questions, but it was a little bit more, let's just say it covered the other topics with a little bit more actual, I don't even know what word to use, maybe just concern.
Objectivity?
You know,
Objectivity?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. But once they got to Iran, that was out the window.
Yeah, man, that was disgusting. But, you know, in the reality, like, I mean, the other issues were nothing. They don't involve mass murder. They don't involve war profiteering. They don't involve any of that stuff.
It's the most important issue, you know?
Before we go to a musical break, why don't we listen to the last clip I have? Okay?
Sure, yeah, okay. I was going to ask you if you had another one.
Yeah, one more, and here we go.
That the whole issue of the federal government saying no strings attached ensures that there will be no national standards. Some would argue there aren't national standards now, but nevertheless that case is being made.
Well, look, Peter, we have the Canada Health Act, and the Canada Health Act sets out some basic values of the healthcare system, including obviously the ones that are most important: a universal system of public health insurance, where no one will be denied health care because of inability to pay. You know, in my experience, this is a principle that all of the provinces strongly believe in themselves.
Okay, what just happened there, they were all clearly talking about the fact that Harper government has dictated the funding formula to the provinces, and what the Canadian government has offered in exchange to being able to dictate it is to not attach strings to the use of the money. Now, in a historical sense, the strings that the federal government always attach to the use of this money is adherence to the Canada Health Act. The Canada Health Act is what ensures every Canadian the right to access to health care in a universal sense. Okay? So, when no strings are attached, it means that's code for we're not going to enforce the Canada Health Act and how you use your money. See what I mean?
I hear you.
So Mansbridge handed that one to him as well. And what Harper said was, oh no, well, don't worry about the Canada Health Act, because it only lays out a set of laws that enforce the values that the provinces have themselves anyway. As in, we can trust the provinces just to do it of their own volition to guarantee universal access to the healthcare system to all of its people. Right? That may be true in Quebec, because I don't doubt that Quebec really holds that set of values dearly. Is it true in Alberta?
Yeah, Alberta, the province that'll probably benefit most from this new arrangement.
Yeah, absolutely. Alberta is chomping at the bit to privatize its healthcare system, and good for them. They've got the money to do it. Okay? You take somewhere like Quebec, Ontario now even. You know, we have a serious problem with the baby boomers getting ready to suck up a lot of healthcare resources.